Hi, everybody. So this is a free drop because normally I would be doing a video about this on YouTube, but unfortunately where I am in Sorrento, I can't really do videos. It's very difficult to get the videos up and also very time consuming, and I really want to focus on the few days I've got here with my son because we don't have that much longer on our trip together. So if you noticed I missed the Valley video, that's because of that. I will be dropping quite a lot of videos as soon as I get home, making up for lost time, so you guys can power watch then. And I'll also be showing you pictures and videos and some secrets intertwined in the gossip that I figured out on my travels to all these weird places I went. Not all weird, but some of them were hard to get to. Anyway, let's do a quick recap of season 19, episode 1, Revolving Doors of Lies, and also talk about some gossip that sort of surrounded this episode. So we open the episode and we find out that Shannon Beador has settled her lawsuit with John Janssen for $60,000, which then makes it clear that, as we had suspected last season, the only reason John Janssen didn't settle the lawsuit was because he wanted to make sure that Alexis Bellino had an opportunity to go on the show as a housewife, but she didn't make it that far. She got to a friend of status and clear his name from all the bashing in the tabloids, etc., that he experienced based on what Shannon Beador said, on the show as a main cast member and also out there. So how do we know this? Well, Shannon first offered to settle the lawsuit for $70,000 USD, but with a condition that John sign a mutual non-disparagement agreement. John did not sign that non-disparagement agreement. And in fact, Alexis went on Real Housewives of Orange County and really represented his viewpoint. And they also did the tabloids and everything else to get it out there where he was coming from, John's side of the story in the breakup with Shannon Beador, and also the DUI drama where she runs into a wall and whether or not he was there for her or not, etc. So that is what Shannon offers him, to pay him back for plastic surgery that he lent her, which he supposedly is communication backing this up, to do her face and pay her bills. So to be clear, she gets a payment, $40,000 in January of 2022 and $35,000 in May of 2023. So Shannon goes back to the table after the season 16, and says, listen, let's settle this. You've gotten your messaging out that you wanted to do. I don't need the disparagement agreement signed because we've already done our damage to each other, and I'll give you $60K if you settle right now. He takes the money, agreeing with that approach, I guarantee it, and that he doesn't have to sign anything, and they settle it. And we hear this on the show. Little update on John Janssen and Alexis Bellino. They're still together. They just took a trip that's like a pre-marriage trip, and they're doing a really strange wedding, which they haven't really announced too much about publicly yet, but it's supposed to be like weird, and they're working on it now because, of course, they're supposed to be getting married any minute because they were getting married the summer of 2025. So that's the story with that. Then we see Shannon Beador moving into a new house. And we also see Gina and Travis moving back in together in a new house. So both these characters on Real Housewives of Orange County have new homes. And Emily says in her confessional video that this time, if Gina ends up asking Travis to leave again because of the ex-wife to Travis, that she thinks Travis is going to walk. And I feel like the editors put this confessional video in intentionally to give an indicator to the audience that this is a possibility. And we also know that they're teasing Travis is going to have problems again with his ex-wife during this season. So what brought Gina to the realization that she wanted to be back together with Travis? Well, I guess she went on a vacation to Bali and she decided that she wanted to be in control of her relationship versus letting an outsider like his ex-wife do it. And so she decides to, take control and get back with him. Or maybe he was going to walk, who knows? So then we jump to Heather Dubrow and we find out an update on her investment property that she has with her husband in Beverly Hills, which their intention was to bring it to the studs and redo the whole house like they did in Orange County, and then maybe live in it for a few years and then sell it at a profit, probably an extensive profit like they did in OC. Well, turns out that the original owners of this house wanted $40 million and they got it down to $16 million, which they were really excited about because it's a great amount of money to buy so much land in, the hills in Beverly Hills. So they thought, like, even at the land value, this is a good deal. Well, she says on the show that she brought in a contractor, which helped them figure out the math. And I guess the budget went $8 million over. They then didn't know how they were going to go about doing it with a contractor. It was also going to take 3 years, and she didn't want to invest that much time and energy in the project in flipping it. And that's what she says on the show, which I think probably there's some truth to it, because I don't think it helps her in selling that house by telling this story on the show, frankly. So what ended up happening is they hired Josh Altman again, who was the one who sold their house in OC for a huge profit margin. And he listed the house for $25 million, but they couldn't get it, so they lowered it to $20 million. And it's still, I understand, being listed and hasn't sold. It's 5 bedrooms, 9 bathrooms, a pool, a hot tub, an outdoor kitchen, a full-size tennis court, a grand foyer with dual staircases on 8.3 acres overseeing the Los Angeles skyline. So they're looking for a real estate developer to come in and buy this property. And so not a great time, though, after the LA fires and everything happening. So they may have to sit on this one for a while. But like everything, you make so much money on one investment and you lose something on another. It's just the way it works. So they take that in stride and they're moving off this property and doing something else. Now, one note to do with Gina's new house is that last season she said that her and Travis couldn't afford a house together. But she basically says on this season that that was kind of a lie. And so I thought you guys need to ponder that for a minute. Why would she lie about that? And what else is she lying about? So then the episode spins to attacking Katie. And the whole goal of this episode is to completely villainize Katie for episode 1 and the next few episodes. And what the big beef of Emily, Heather, Tamra, and Gina is, because they've all turned on Katie at this point, is that Katie, A, lies. We got tea that this was coming out a long time ago, and that was the angle. But also, B, she's talking to podcasters and bloggers and things that do Bravo shows, okay? And they're saying different things that Katie has done that has upset them. So Tamra's position is that Katie has talked to bloggers about Tamra leaking information or making blogger accounts to drop, damaging things about her fellow cast members. Heather Dubrow said that Katie lied about her taking pictures in Disney after there were rumors that Terry Dubrow was cheating on her. That was murmured during Taylor Armstrong's season in Disneyland, looking the point, all that stuff. You guys remember all of that. She said Katie Ginella lied about that. There was no paparazzi that reached out to her and told her that and she just said it, and that was it. And it wasn't true. Now, none of us believe that Heather took that photo and didn't call the paparazzi. So we already know on that one that, it's not fair to Katie, this one, because Heather definitely called the paparazzi. Okay, I'm sorry. And then we move on to Emily's beef, which they're trying to dramatize heavily in episode 1, but it isn't really landing correctly, which is that Katie's daughter was babysitting for Emily Simpson. And she said she overheard Emily's kids talking negatively about Heather Dubrow. And she brought it up on the show in a conversation with Tamra, and her daughter did, not even her. And then her daughter ended up going on a podcast and talked about how she really did hear it. And even though the show painted it like she didn't really hear it, she did. And, so there it is. And it really upset her because she felt kind of attacked by the fans and everything that were supporting Emily and all this. And then news broke that Emily's nanny was talking to bloggers too, saying that they that she did hear the kids talking negatively about Heather Dubrow in Emily Simpson's home. And that was reported on by a few bloggers. And so Emily said, listen, I feel like Katie started all of this with this conversation with her daughter and Tamra and brought the kids into it. That crossed a boundary for me. And in addition to that, she makes allegations that Katie is egging on all of these public comments that are happening by these people. So in other words, Katie is trying to get the nanny to clear her daughter's name quietly on these shows to help, fix that situation. That Katie knows her daughter's going on podcasts to talk about the fact that it really happened and the show made it look like it didn't or whatever, and stand her ground, that she is talking to bloggers to get gossip and then using some of that on the show here and there, or telling them things that benefit her because she sees these bloggers as her friends. Now, I have no doubt that the allegations that Emily Simpson are making against Katie Ginella are true, although Katie is skirting them, trying to deny them, all these things. But I will say this, it is part of the game, and I do think that is why Shannon Beador has her back. But that tea we drop later, at least in episode 1. Anyway, we find out that Emily doesn't sue the nanny, but she sends her a cease and desist, I guess, to say, listen, you signed an NDA, which I'm sure she did, and you're not allowed to talk about our kids or any of that. But Emily is really, really making this a mountain out of a kind of molehill, because your kid's talking smack about someone who is on your cast of a TV show about talking smack about people. And also the tea that I know is real that's being discussed always between the cast is that Heather Dubrow is kind of a bitch and a nightmare to be on the show with, at least in the early seasons. When I'm talking about that, I mean recent ones, the last 2 she was on. I mean, I don't know if this season things have changed and they've gotten closer to her, but that has always been what is the chit chat, okay, amongst the cast. So the kids picking up on this, I totally believe could happen, and I'd see no reason the kids wouldn't talk about the show like everybody else. I mean, come on, why not, to their nanny or whatever if they were interested, or Katie Ginella's daughter as a babysitter. But the bottom line is, who gives a shit? Apologize to Heather and say, hey, listen, I don't know where they got it from. I didn't say it, even if she did say it, which I do believe Emily could have said it. And, I'm sorry, it's not that big a deal. Kids say shit. Who is making the focus of this show her kids? Emily. If Emily's boundary is to not have the show surround her children's problems or what they say, good or bad, maybe don't make that the main theme of your entire storyline, which is what she's doing. She literally goes into the season bringing her kids back into the show on the table and is like, let's talk about my kids and how they talk negatively about Heather, and tie it to Katie Ginella betraying, the housewife rule that no one says, which is don't bring the kids into it. It makes no sense. And of course, Emily has attacked Katie about her children, saying Katie's first divorce when she lost custody had to have been because she was unfit, a liar, or some problem, right? And so she makes now her kids who hear the show think that that's why maybe Katie Ginella wasn't front and center with them. I did do a deep dive on her divorce. If you want to hear that, that's in the Patreon, or see it. I think that's a video, a confessional video. But the point is, I'm not getting into all that today. What I want to say is, that was a pretty big thing to say on the reunion about someone, about her mothering. To be fair, no one attacked Emily's mothering. She keeps saying that happened. Why? Because your kids talked smack about a cast member that's on TV that everybody talks smack about? Give me a break. And then we also see all these scenes in episode 1 where she's talking to her husband, and she's talking about how she thinks her son is autistic and that he has a slight eating disorder because of his hypersensitivity, that he doesn't get hungry or he doesn't know when he's hungry, and food grosses him out, and smell can gross him out, so he doesn't want to eat. And, if you watch Seth's reaction to it, he's just like, hey, it's not a big problem. We can make the kid eat whenever we want. We can help him get treatment for his hypersensitivity. Like, it's fine. And Emily is like having a nervous breakdown over it, crying and making it into a big deal. And his reaction to it is like, I'm not doing this for the show. I'm not going to give in to this thing you're doing about our son. And that's really how I read it. Like, he's like, almost like, why are we doing this? I mean, it's certainly if he's protective of his kid, he's like, gee, maybe we shouldn't be magnifying this on the Real Housewives of Orange County, even if it is something for you to talk about on the show is a problem. So I don't know. I really felt like they weren't on the same page with this. And then we see in the teaser that they're going to have a big fight over this, that Emily's going to be like, we could get a divorce if you don't start feeling more the way I do about the kids and their problems and not just tuning it out. The way you deal with things is different than me and blah, blah, blah. But I mean, honestly, I kind of felt like he was sort of like, are we really going to go there on this topic for this show? Just, but that's just me. That's my opinion. Now, Tamra Judge also has beef with Katie, it turns out, because Katie, as I mentioned, said that she had helped all these Finsta accounts get gossip and tea, or she had them and she was using them to drop stuff for her. Now, let's be fair. Those rumors probably got started from Tamra Judge running a gossip podcast, which it initially was until Andy Cohen reined her back in because he was like, if you want to be on Real Housewives of Orange County again, I can't have you being like a gossiper because you could give away show secrets and you kind of profitize on that. So I, kind of need you to just keep it to recaps if you don't mind. And then Teddy had to figure out sort of ways around that, keeping Tamra safe that she wouldn't lose her new coveted job that she just got back on OC, but still could have a successful podcast on iHeartRadio. So that's what kind of went down with that. But I mean, is it such a stretch that Tamra Judge would be, just leaking stuff to accounts about gossip she can't say on her show, but she's getting from doing her, old gossip show? I'd say probably. And does it really matter? I mean, right? Isn't Tamra looking to call out the worst things about everybody? So again, they're villainizing Katie with all of this stuff, and she's hanging in there. It seems like it's tough. She's really getting her ass kicked. But the fans are also simultaneously like, I don't know what's so wrong with this, right? That you guys are wanting to end your friendship with her and all of this. And again, this all comes back to the cast not liking Katie Ginella in real life. That's the truth. That's what this really ties back to. And they're going for her. Now, meanwhile, Jennifer Pedranti and Katie Ginella have become really good friends in real life, and they're sticking together on this season, and they've got each other's backs. Although the women are trying to put a wedge between Jennifer and Katie by saying that Jennifer Pedranti is calling Katie a con woman behind her back, but Katie doesn't believe it, because they talk a lot and they've kept their bond strong behind the scenes, which is smart because that's how Emily and Gina have operated in their strategy on the show. So they're kind of copying that strategy. And then we also see Shannon Beador, who's got Katie Ginella's back too. And I don't think really truly Shannon Beador likes Katie Ginella, but I do think the producers have asked her to do it. Shannon's been on the show so long and she's such an OG. The producer has no problem saying, we really need you to hang out with Katie on this one, and she'll do it and she'll never leak it. And they know that. And so she's going to get coached, right? She's one of the cast that will get coached. And then you noticed that Bravo's now trying to bring in bloggers and what they're saying in gossip besides the tabloids into the storylines of the show, which you remember I was told by the people that clear for Shed that is a new initiative with Bravo, that they want to start using sound clips from bloggers and podcasts and all this stuff in their content. But I noticed in their clearance agreements that they sent, because I got one and I wouldn't sign it, there is a very unusual thing in their clearance, which is they don't guarantee you positive placement. Now, this is very unusual in the clearance industry. Almost always, especially if it's free, that you're giving them your IP, they will always guarantee a positive use of your clip or whatever it is, and they don't. And actually what I'm seeing on the shows is almost every time they're using a blogger, they're getting some attention on the show and notoriety, but they're also dragging that blogger simultaneously in a really bad way. And their clearance, by the way, is for perpetuity. You can never get your clip off that damn show. It'll just go and go and go. So I don't know why people are signing these agreements without money. And you guys spread the word. Tell all of them all about the truth. Everybody, they should be getting paid. That's industry standard. Or you should be getting a positive guaranteed placement with your clearance. So these contracts are very unusual, to say the least. I was in product placement and I did clearance too sometimes as part of my product placement job in over 100 movies and many, many shows to do with HBO. And I've never seen that kind of shit before. Anyway, we move on and Tamra Judge is gotten a nice facelift. She looks good. And we found out, of course, that she's on the autism spectrum, and that it was really hard for her to announce that and then get backlash from a bunch of people who felt like she was using autism as a scapegoat for her impulse control reactions to things, and like a kind of like a cop-out. But we see her in therapy, and we find out that she has all this trauma. We find out that she's still very estranged from her daughter, which when she first came back, they kind of made it seem like that wasn't the case. But I guess it really is the case solidly from what we're seeing in this season. And that she's really trying to, find people she can trust because she feels like she can't trust anyone. Then we jump to a bikini shop, Jennifer Pedranti's with Ryan Boyajian, and they're talking about their wedding. And oddly, they're talking about doing it with her in a white bikini, and they're still really hot for each other. And he's telling the kids how great the wedding is going to be and touting that there's going to be plenty of rum at the wedding, which was really cringe. And that's it. We see that kind of being planned or whatever. But, I don't feel like things are going to end so well with them. Just saying. Jennifer Pedranti settled her lawsuit with Quinn Gao, who was her landlord, over her Orange County house where she didn't pay the rent. She owed, I guess, $15,000. They did a settlement on that amount, and now that's over. She had the yoga studio landlord who won against her a judgment for $165,000. They ended up settling it at $160,000, and she's only made one payment towards that of $25,000. So they'll be exercising some sort of lien over her Real Housewives of Orange County salary to get that money soon. And obviously, once Ryan and her are married, any debt she has, becomes his liability and vice versa. And other than that, she's doing, okay. Her husband wants to not give her any more support payments, and he also wants to lower her child support. And they've been dealing with still ongoing legal issues over the end of her previous marriage. And Ryan, we still don't quite know how he's making money, but it's in somehow real estate development and mortgages, but kind of weird given that he has a criminal background. So we just don't know what the hell is really going on with Ryan, but we'll just leave it there for now. So then we see the women go to the Golden Door, and it costs $12,950 for 7 days. And we don't really see how that money is possibly being utilized in this place, although lovely. We see all the women going there, and Tamra comes really broken because she's just found out about Teddy Mellencamp's cancer and all the bad things happening with that. And Tamra, really attacks Gina because Gina's like, is it bad? And she's like, are you an idiot? Yes, it's bad. And Gina's like, but I only saw what was on social media. And Tamra's like, it was all on social media, so I'm not sure what you're talking about. Not sure where Gina was going with that, but whatever it was, it got shot down pretty quickly. And then we see the different women going into different groups, Tai Chi and drumming. And Gina and Emily are coming hard to get Katie excluded from as many of the events as they can, but it's not working. The producers keep pushing Katie in. So they're realizing that like their original idea of kind of pushing her out isn't going to work because she's bringing too much drama at the moment. And there have been moments I didn't mention where Katie Ginella, Gina, and Emily do have a sit down, but they don't really resolve anything. Katie says, I didn't do the things you're alleging. They ask for receipts. She doesn't provide them. And this sort of happens over and over again. Why? Well, because I'm pretty sure Katie did what they said, but like, do we really care? I don't know. I'm asking you guys, make sure you comment under this audio. And on that note, you guys, I'm going to a Roman ruin and I'm going to go swim with my son. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. And I'm thinking about all of you, and I'll be just doing so much content when I get home. I can't wait. You'll be sick of me. You'll be like, gee, maybe you should have stayed in Sorrento. All right, you guys, we'll talk soon.